Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about last year's budget, but we're also going to talk about the inception of the program since 2007. The Comanche Nation Capital Improvement Program was approved by resolution number 0206, September 23, 2006, at a special general council meeting. The main objectives of the CIP program are to upgrade infrastructure, acquire new buildings, renovate them, renovate existing tribal buildings, including add-ons and to existing buildings. We're also here to construct new buildings. We're also here for fixed equipment, like we buy tractors, graders, trenchers, vehicles. What we do and how we came about with our CIP program, we were with the tribal administrator, Mr. Pika at the time. We did 6 months of going out and looking at other CIP programs, and then we came back and we have an ordinance that we follow. And our ordinance says that the purpose of the capital improvement program, a capital improvement is defined as a non-recurring expenditure or any expenditure for fiscal improvements, including costs for acquisition of existing buildings, land or interest in land, construction of new buildings or other structures, additions and major alterations, construction of streets and utilities, acquisition of fixed equipment, landscaping, installation of upgrading water lines. Now, the original CIP program from 2007 to 2010, we actually took those 6 months. We looked at all of our deficiencies with the CBC and TA. What we did is we got with the programs. We took a 3-year budget and we said, okay, the next 3 years, it's going to cost this to do this amount. That from 2007 to 2010, those 3 years, we completed 97%. And with that, we're going to talk about last year's budget, and then we're going to talk about some of the previous. Yes, I'm actually changing right now. Okay, for the last year, we were approved $2.2 million, and we actually underspent by $173,000. The CIP program has 10 employees under myself, and the stuff that we completed last year, new roofs. We did the museum roof. We did the Elders Council roof. We did the building at the old FAC building over here. We did a lot of mold removal in our buildings. The finance buildings, the daycares, the funeral home, the Kahoma building, the grant writer's office, the injury prevention office, HR offices, voc rehab, the Angels office and reintegration. Now, several of my crew members are certified mold remediators. That's why we don't have to get other people to go out and pay high dollar. We do it ourselves. And we also purchased equipment for 2 other programs, home improvement and EPA, and we also got to purchase 2 department vehicles. Yes. I sure can. Yes. And we're going to get to that.
Anyway, congratulations on underspending by that $173,000. Now, let me ask you this. Okay. Of that $173,000, are you going to be able to carry that over into another budget?
That is, we actually are looking, because we're building 3 new buildings here, and that's up to the committee and the TA.
But you haven't been told anything?
No.
Okay, well, let me ask Chairman Nelson what he plans to do with that money that they've underspent.
Well, the TA, are you talking about fiscal year 2016?
Yeah. What's up? What he's got showing on the slide.
Oh, you're messing me up because I'm going to bring it forward about 5 o'clock. Jimmy did a great job. He kept the budget in check for fiscal year 2016. We had a windfall that came in from a lawsuit. This is the people's money. It's not our money. And I'm bringing it forward. I might as well tell you all, I'm bringing it forward to General Counsel, $8 million for us to vote on, yes or no, for an individual dividend payment to each tribal member.
Is that, are you talking about money that
Money
people have underspent?
Underspent, yes.
Now,
Before, ma'am, I want to answer this. Before, ma'am, there is a General Counsel rule that we give it to capital improvement. Well, that didn't go too well because not only they overspent this man's budget, but ma'am, the last 6 years they have overspent by $38 million. That's the truth. Okay, so this year was a very fiduciary year. Not only did the TA pay the bills, but there was an excess of money. We actually had rents coming in that weren't paid. So to end a fiscal year, is it right for us with the General Counsel not telling us to go put it in a capital improvement fund? Now, things that are not approved on the ballot, ma'am, we will put it in a rainy day fund. But if we have an excess of money, who does it go to? Us? No.
It should
It should
stay
go
with
to
that
the General
program.
Counsel floor.
It
So
should
what I'm
stay
trying to
with that
answer
program.
is, you're answering his program. There's a lot of people, and this excess money plus the windfall comes to about $8 million, and we're going to bring it to the people for their decision. They might say no. They might say, we want something. But it is the people's money, and this is a people's tribe. It's not an individual, well, let's run off with it. You know, I'd hate to see someone on the General Counsel floor say, hey, let's get a get out of jail program, and everybody says, yeah. You know, we can't do things like that anymore.
Well, that's well and good. But as you said, this gentleman, and it may not have been him personally, had overspent that particular line item by $38 million. But has anything actually happened to him as an employee? No. So why are you punishing this program? Because they've, been, as you said, they've been diligent with their money. And
TA, would you like to
listen,
come and address
I'm
that?
still talking.
All right.
That,
So what is
I am
your real
still
question?
talking, please.
What is your real question?
Well, why are you doing that? Because this has gone to a referendum ballot and been voted on as a budget. And according to your resolution that you're calling the WMB, line item 2, it says moves a tribal council budget line item without a proper resolution. You're doing the same thing. You're moving that money it was voted on a referendum ballot.
Jimmy, can you address this? Because all excess money we have put in a protected account.
So what? But why doesn't it stay with the program? Because it's actually moving that money, and that's one of the things that you wanted
We
to
actually
prevent on this
didn't.
resolution.
We didn't move the money.
So it's-
within the fiscal year, they didn't spend the money.
So is it going to stay with that program?
Are you ready for me to?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So, I mean, a number of these programs actually had excess money, and yes, it was a fiscal budget that was approved by the General Counsel. So, and I think that was the question is, would it be carried over for that same program into the next fiscal year? But because we had a couple of, like the chairman said, the settlement, a couple of settlements, lawsuits and stuff, and then these programs have some carryover money from that was approved, but some of them also have income money, earned income. And so in talking with the CBC, they collectively felt like that was really a decision of the people, because once the audit is completed, and all of that money is set in the tribal accounts, then they felt like it really should go back to the people to decide, do you want to carry it over, allow them to carry it over, or do you want to utilize it in another manner? So the committee is looking at basically, in the reality, all these years, all these programs, I mean, theoretically what you're saying I could probably agree with, but here's the thing. We're entering our 50th years of tribal government. This is a very important time in our history. This is the first time in a long time that we're off high risk, that we have a clean audit, and we actually can account for all of our monies and report back to the people. So it really comes down to, do one individual or one group make a decision about how that should happen, and what this current committee believes is that they should take it back to the people and let them decide. So theoretically, I could understand, and if I was managing a program, feel that same way, but at the end of the day, it's true. The people voted on that money, and we've seen years past where the money was not spent the way that it was approved and voted on. So it's a way for myself as the administrator and the committee to be even more transparent with what has happened this fiscal year. So it really comes down to their decision to take that back to the people and let all of the people decide on what they want to do. If they decide that they want to give it back to the programs because that's what it was allocated or approved for, then, you know, that's really the people's decision. That's, you know, kind of the
But you're talking about bringing that to the general council. And again, that what it was voted on by referendum vote, which, you know, is a greater number than what comes to the general council.
Well, no, this will all go by referendum vote. That's what the committee's
Okay.
doing, is putting it on the ballot for all Comanches to vote on. That's the difference. Now, in the past, if you think about it, if these things happen, the committee just spent it or moved it from one program to another. So this year, it's like that's the difference. They're not just taking that money and utilizing it for whatever they deem is important. They're actually bringing it back for the entire nation by referendum vote to decide what they want to do with it. And if all of the Comanche people say, give it back to those programs, let them continue to utilize it for their services on top of the fiscal budget they're currently in, then that's really up to the people. But it really comes down to just being more transparent and letting the people know what's going on.
But they are, in essence, moving it from that program, which according to this resolution for the WMB Act of 2017, it's not done with a proper resolution.
No, that's not really true, Phyllis, because they haven't moved it. It still exists. It's not like they've used it for something else. That's the difference.
But they're
And so
talking
it's
about
up to
moving
the-
it from that line item. And
No.
so that money is no longer available to the
Only if
particular
the
program.
Supreme governing body approves it.
They're not moving it. If the people say leave it, then that's their decision. That's the proper authority and
Well,
resolution to make
All
it.
I'm trying to say is that the CBC needs to make a resolution to make that any money where that program did due diligence, saved their money, and they're, you know, that money is going to go to that, because that's basically what this says. You're
Okay, and that would make
violating this.
sense for the committee to, like, you know, act on proper resolution for that. So, Mr. Chairman Nelson?
Well, that will go to the committee, and we all decided, okay, so
But was it done-
half of our population wants us to fire everybody out here at the complex.
But was it
No.
done by resolution? Because I'm just reading what y'all put in this WBM Act. Moved tribal council budget line items, which you're
Right.
moving it.
Right.
It may be saved someplace, but you're moving it without a proper resolution. So
Okay.
you're violating that resolution, your WMB
No.
resolution.
No, because that did come up in our discussion. All we're bringing forward is a question. Yes or no? Do you want us to put it back to the program? Yes or no? It's just going to be a yes or no. So
I have a
we're
question for-
actually following the resolution, but,
I have a question for,
well,
The-
hold
the-
on, I'm still trying to answer Ms. Narcomi here.
well, nobody's going to understand
Okay,
anything when they read
So, Ms.
it.
Narcomi, you are asking, and this man's trying to give a presentation here. You're asking, okay, he was a good steward with his money. There was about 55 other programs that were good stewards with their finances. Now, the people did vote on it, correct? Yes, okay. We did pass the Accountability Act, yes, that you're making reference to. We will ask the people that voted on this money. We will ask them. We're not moving it until they tell us to move. And we're taking this all to referendum vote.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm disagreeing is the Accountability Act says without a proper resolution. So where's the proper resolution for you to do this?
As soon as the people vote by referendum vote, we will come as a legal quorum, a business committee, and say they did vote, they moved this, and we will pass a resolution. Yes.
Okay, some of the questions, one of the questions I had was, you said 55 programs were due diligent with their monies, and those people should be rewarded and allowed to keep their money as a rollover for the next, for like Louis here. And the Elders Council also, I believe, lost $23,000 that our treasurer was taking very careful measures not to overspend. And we were all happy because we were going to really do something culturally, maybe, you know, and she was going to reward the program. Now, the last meeting, she said that she had bad news for us, that what we were told in the first place was not going to happen, that the CBC took our $23,000 to put in a slush fund to be voted on again. You've already voted, the General Council already voted for the Elders Council to have a budget. Now you're taking that $23,000 away from us just to put back into a slush fund, so we have to vote again?
I'll answer that question. I think you're referring to a slush fund of the past.
That's what I'm calling it. I don't know what you're going to do.
This is a protected account. It is the people's money. And the thing is, we have over 1/3 of our adults that vote that don't get nothing from the jurisdiction. How many are in your elders council?
Well, we know that. We know that when people vote, not everybody is happy with us locals having everything. I mean, we're happy that we have the housing. We're happy that we have the CIP. And I'm happy that Louis has a leftover for what he needs to do. But, toward the end of the year, if we know you're going to take it away from us, we could have made sure we were going to spend that money. He could have done something for a lot of more people, that are sitting out there waiting for help.
Nobody forced anybody to say.
I'm not talking about being forced. I'm talking about we've already voted. We're the money, the line item for that budget. We've already voted for it. Why are you taking the ones that were due diligent with their money? You're taking that money away from them.
We're not taking it away. We are not. It's up to the
Yes,
people.
you're taking it from that particular program.
The people voted on it by referendum vote. Okay, that was last year. Okay, they were good stewards with their money.
Well, let me ask
All
you.
the monies are in a protected account, so we're bringing it back to the people for a yes and no, a dividend, or a yes or no. Give it back to the program.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, let me ask this
And
question.
then after that, to follow our own resolution, we will pass, or better yet, I can't sell anything. I'm just chairing a meeting. And if the business committee says yes by resolution, they voted on this, let's do that.
Do they do that every year, the CBC vote after the referendum vote to say, yes, this is what they voted on, and pass it as a resolution?
No, there were usually about 10 million in the hole of overspend, ma'am.
Well, no, I'm talking about every year. After that budget's passed or not passed, or by line item, is there a CBC resolution saying that this is what the referendum vote did?
And that's been the practice since 2005. As a matter of fact, out here in the General Council, we had a thing called nominate and elect, an election board. Mr. Norman Nonai put it on the floor. The people agreed by hand, but it didn't go active until a month later. So was it a pass right here? No, it was just an agreement. Then they made this rule of nominate and elect election board, and that's been the rule for 10 years, and it didn't really work.
But that's not really answering my question. I've not, I make most of the meetings, as does Beverly. I don't ever remember this CBC making or passing a resolution saying after the referendum vote on the ballot that, this is what the referendum vote was for the budget. Did you ever do that, Mr. Tippeconic? No. So you're saying that y'all going to do this now?
That was done in 2005, ma'am. I just gave you an example.
Well, yes, but that was not on a referendum vote. That was on something that was done on the floor. But anyway, I'm done.
Well,
I apologize
ma'am,
to you, Louis,
ma'am,
for taking up your time.
I came in as chairman at the end of the fiscal year, so I've only been in here 4 months.
And that's why I turned around and asked Mr. Tippeconic, because he had been Secretary Treasurer previously for, I think around 8 years. But I apologize, Mr. McCarthy.
So I have to give this question back to the people. It can't be because you guys said, give it back to the programs. This is a supreme governing body. Everyone votes. They have the voice, not just one.
Actually, that could have been handled if you had done in the accounting procedures, that this is what you're going to do in any of your physical management procedures. Anybody, I mean, it could have been done as a policy and procedure.
Well, let's go right back to this man's program.
All righty.
The past was anything that was left over from all these programs went to this man's program.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that
And-
was what the general council voted on. So that's not the rule no more. That was changed.
Okay, let me get back to some of the tasks that we completed last year during fiscal year 2016. We fixed drainage issues at ECDC and the Elders Council, the Assisted Living Center, the museum, our finance building. We did metal work at the following offices: PIO, food distribution, and our Assisted Living Center. We did electrical upgrades for our powwow grounds for the Comanche Nation Fair. We helped in the emergency management team with generators on 5 tribal buildings. And we actually did our 2 site pads for 2 new buildings that we currently have going up. And we also, we worked on 2 tribal members' homes, and we finished them up. And we remodeled all the following offices: PIO, Women's Shelter, Prevention Recovery, ICW, Finance, Admin, 16 offices, the daycares, the IT sound room, the Cahoma, the funeral home, fire program, NAGPRA, Outreach, Elder Center, EPA, Crime Stoppers, our wastewater treatment plant, the Elders Council, Fitness Center, Water Park, Visitor Center, College, Comanche Nation Fair, Walters Community Center, Prescription Optometry, Diabetes, and CRIs. Now, whenever we were into consumption, CIP is mainly for tribal buildings. And now we're going to talk about a little bit about the past. Since 2007, we were budgeted $15,248,506. The amount that was spent in that time was $23,864,404. It was actually around a little over $8.5 million overspent in our programs because we were promised money that we never got. We paid for everything. When they didn't know where to take it out, they took it out of us. We paid for a lot of houses. We paid for a lot of stuff that we didn't know about. Well, as of last year, we got back on track, and we actually got to actually oversee our budget and work with our budget, and now we're under budget. And what we're looking at on these big projects that we got complete up there, those projects total around $7 million. The ICW Child Support Building, the CRIs Building, the fire station, the Family Assistance Center, the Fitness Center, the Women's Shelter, the water park slides. We paid for that water line for the Travel Plaza, the fire station add-on, our wastewater treatment plant upgrade, the health programs buildings, the NAGPRA building. We even paid for the feasibility studies for the Cache, Red River, and Lawton expansions. And we also paid for the water park, water drilling, and all that totaled around $7 million. But we also didn't include Woodgie Hall when we renovated this building, the community centers, and we also got grants for our wind study and our water study. And we're actually looking at completing all of this, and this is what we're looking at next year, since we're back on track. Okay, what we're looking at here is we're looking at doing a new Pathways building add-on to our current women's facility. We're looking at a Voc Rehab building, if it passes, with our grant. We're also looking to add on to our current building or build a new administration building. We're also looking at solar lightings for all of our tribal buildings, so to cut down, because we've already done an energy assessment on all of our buildings. And we're also looking at a water tower and water upgrades because we are 99% tapped on our water up here on the complex. And do we have any other questions? Yes.
Mr. McCarthy, I don't have any questions. I just, again, would like to congratulate you for being a good manager and taking care of the funds that were, given to you as under your responsibility, and taking care of everything that you've done. But my advice to you for this year is to spend every penny that you have.
Okay.
Yes, and so now we know that your CIP is for the Comanche buildings only?
Yes.
Not for the housing? Okay, because in the past, we've heard horror stories that people's houses were being renovated, built, you bought.
We actually renovated around 300, we actually paid for the renovation around 350 houses.
But you weren't supposed to, you were
No,
told to?
no,
Okay,
because-
and you're over the community center in Apache. I don't know who is over it at the moment, but the little barn that's sitting beside it has been broken into because, we kind of empty trash in a dumpster there. And the door was wide open a couple of times. The next time we went, it was locked. The next time it was open again, left open, nobody at the building. So we really need a very, very good building for storage right there. I don't know who you go to for all of that.
I'll take that up with the tribal administrator and we'll get that taken care of.
Okay, and also, you're talking about the water program. We've got several programs doing a survey with the water. We've got several programs overlapping. How are y'all going to consolidate all of these things?
With our water program, what we did is we actually got a grant and we did the feasibility study with rural water to show the hydrology study for the complex. We cannot build no more here on our trust property until we increase our water pressure because we're tapped out on this side. And we know that's why those other buildings had to be built down there because we upgraded that 6-inch line with the rural water. And if we do our standpipes and we can get more meters up here, then we can actually build more up here on our trust land.
Okay, so the program, the environmental, and then the realty office, and then now you're talking about the water issues. So are y'all all kind of talking to each other to see who's
Yes,
doing what?
And we're mainly working with them on their infrastructure and water. And then if it comes down to the water lines, that's where we get involved in the actual laying of the water and upgrading all that. Because as an infrastructure part, that's where we work with them.
Okay, thank you for clarifying a lot of issues that, questions that we all had.
You're welcome.
And if you look behind to the north of Woodgie Hall here, you'll be seeing our new court coming up. And Louis has been instrumental on this. We got a new project in the gaming theater, and Louis is part of the task team. So Louis, thank you for your good work. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
My name is Willie Pica. I'm chairman of the Elder Council.
Yes.
We'd like to thank you for helping out with the Elder Center, with the new roof and air conditioning things, but we're still not done yet. Are we on your list to be
Yes, you
finished
are.
up there?
You're actually on the list, and we're actually going to be getting permits to actually redo y'all's bathrooms, redo the interior, redo y'all's doors.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not handicap accessible yet either?
We already know. That's
Okay.
why.
Will that be done this year?
Yes, it'll be done in this funding year.
Because we can't do any business yet. We like to have meetings there and, carry on some business.
You're like number 4 on the list.
Well, we appreciate it for all your help. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Louis.
We got one more question, Mr.
One more
Mr. Kennedy.
question.
Glad you got that last page up there. Let's say, can you hear me? After looking at all those projects up there, isn't some of those CDBG grant eligible?
Yes.
Maybe we ought to put some money up for a capital improvement proposal consultant, because no telling how much millions we're going to save, for those projects. I mean, this is an important recommendation. We need somebody in there, that can assist or help on doing that.
Yes.
Again, back to our planning department that we need. Well, one comment on that past budget, that land, we had, I don't know how many committees, 25, but I would strongly recommend a land committee. That I believe there's one tribe in, I don't know, sorting out North or South Dakota that bought a whole lot of land back, and because they had a land committee, but we got none. yeah, we gotta do something that makes sense, you know. Okay, well,
All
that's
right.
all I have to say.
Thank you for y'all's time.
Mr. Louis McCarthy, thank you again.